I find it so ironic that the year that I was stuck at home involuntarily was actually the year that I enjoyed my New Year's the most. Because I find that every New Year's, I dread going out. I voluntarily stay at home. And this year, when I couldn't leave my house, I had the best time.
I feel like New Year's as a concept and like in general as a night, as an event, whatever, is like so overhyped. And everyone's like, New Year's, New Year's, New Year's, New Year's. Like it's like it becomes this whole thing. And it's like actually the best New Year's is when you just like hang out and like
Yeah.
do nothing.
I also think that it's like a difference in attitude. Like I know that we've talked about this before, but one big difference that I made going into this year was this idea of like forget new year, new me. I'm literally still the same person and I'm going to let go of this idea that I need to wake up as someone completely different the next day.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
there's all this hype of needing to like change your entire routine, change your personality, like go get a face, like completely change who you are as a person
I know.
so you could be the best version of yourself.
I also just kind of am like, what, like the idea of like new year, new me. It's like, what was I doing that was like so bad that I had to change? Like, I understand if I had some like really bad, like actually like really harmful or toxic thing that I was doing, and you're like, oh, well, like in the new year, like I'm not going to do it. But it's like, I wasn't doing anything that was like so, like, do you know what I mean? That was like so bad that I'm like, oh my God, there's no way I can bring this into the new year with me. Also, I feel like there's like this pressure to like, I don't even know if it's like reinvent yourself. I feel like we were talking about it. It's like this pressure to like just be like, I'm changed. Like I'm a whole new person. I'm gonna do all these new things.
Yeah.
But again, I'm like, but unless you like really want to make some change, in which case I feel like you wouldn't necessarily wait specifically for New Year's to make a change. Like you would just make said change. Why do you have to like it's I'm not saying why you have to, because obviously all of us, I have, you have, we all have like done that, but it's like, why do you have to like be, do you know what I mean? Like, why does it have to be this big thing?
Why does it have to be so intense? Why am I suddenly signing up for a new social security number and going under a witness protection program? Like,
To get a
why
new
is my,
identity for the new year.
yeah,
New
like why?
new name. New everything.
New person. Nice to meet you because I've never met you before. Yeah, I find that as well. And I think a lot of what I've learned in the last 2 years is this idea of it doesn't have to be like it doesn't have to be so black and white. I found that like that's the type of thinking I had
Yeah.
just in like literally my everyday life. And it doesn't have to be like that. It doesn't have to be all or nothing.
Yeah.
And it's especially that on New Year's.
I think the whole idea of like all or nothing is also like a way that when you approach something in like an all or nothing way, which I'm not even saying like I haven't done, like that is what I literally do, you're like more likely to fail because it's like
Yeah,
you either have to be perfect, or you're like, if it's not perfect, I can't even do it. It's like, I'm done.
100%.
And then a little bit is like better, or like making strides in the right direction is better than like doing nothing in the direction you want to go in.
Exactly. I think this idea of even just New Year's resolutions is
Yeah.
something that I let go of as well this year.
Yeah. I did that last year too, where I was like, I'm not going to have any resolutions. I'm going to just like try to be more mindful. But the reason I paused is because I feel like I have this thing where every like I find that I'm like doing a lot of things on autopilot, and I end up losing a lot of my time. Like I'm just like endlessly scrolling on Instagram or TikTok or whatever. And last year I was like, oh, I just want to be more intentional, whether that's like how I use my time, or like whether it's how I like whatever it is I do, like I just want to be more intentional about the way that I do it. And I kind of I think I like took it in some ways and not other ways. But this year, to continue that, I don't have like a New Year's resolution,
Mhm.
like spend less time on my phone. But I like put it like, we both like have talked about this, but I put like a timer on my phone
Mhm.
where I was like, okay, I'm not going to be on Instagram for like 4 hours. Like it'll just be like, oh, your time's up after an hour. And like every time, not even like, oh, sometimes like every single time I'm like, no, I need more time. Like one more minute.
As I say 1 minute. Okay, I'm back. So sorry, my nephew came in and terrorized my room.
The most fun. He was like,
Yeah.
I want the bell.
He yeah, he's like, oh, you guys are recording, I don't care.
He was like,
I
I
have my
didn't
own
ask.
life.
I actually didn't ask. I'm here to record my own podcast.
He's like, I made New Year's resolutions and they are to
Foil you.
get a spot on the show.
Honestly, he can. Please. That doesn't even need to be a New Year's resolution. Anyways, yeah, all I was just saying that like was on my phone, I have the Instagram. First of all, I deleted the app, which like has semi helped with not going on it as much, but I put the self timer on it, and it's just like more so for me to get a reminder that it's been an hour like in my day of going on it, because I never am like, oh, it's an hour, like end. I'm always like, oh, it's an hour, like 1 more minute, 15 more minutes, like all the time. But at least then I'm like a little bit more, I'm like at least like a bit more mindful of like, oh, but it's like already been an hour, or like, oh, my 15-minute increment interval is over, like, okay, like I'm moving on.
I find that I also love that you actually like build it up. You're like, oh, 1 more minute. Okay, no, 15 more minutes. I always go to the like ignore limit for today.
What?
So it completely defeats the purpose. But I find what it does do sometimes is it makes me question whether I really want to be on it right now.
Yeah.
So something that's new for this year is we got TikTok, which I'm like, we're 2 years late, but it's fine.
Wait, you know what? We were 2
signed
years
up.
late in getting COVID, so we're 2 years late in getting TikTok.
Yeah, you know what? That is just, it is what it is. But I'm obsessed. I think it's hilarious. It's such
so
a
funny.
funny app. So I will be like in my bed, like with my phone, just laughing to myself. And I put the timer on. And I think a couple times I went to go on it and it was like, your limit ended in the morning. Like
Yeah.
you're
my God.
done for the day.
Yeah.
So it does make you question if you really want to go on it or not. So I find it does help.
I also find that like I don't like, we're talking a lot about like being intentional and like as you go into the new year or setting goals, or like this idea of reinventing yourself, but sometimes you need mindlessness. Like sometimes you need to be mindless in something that you're doing, which is why like I like the 15-minute timer, because it actually, it's like, oh, your 15 minutes is up. It's like, okay, I can be mindless for 15 minutes at a time. And I feel okay with that. You know what I mean? And then you're like, oh, it's fine. Like it's been 15 minutes. I don't even want to go back on it. And you can just like close it and move on.
Yeah.
But I think the other thing too was this year, like it just felt extra blah, like entering a new year, because it was like we were in another lockdown, and like I don't know, like everyone was sick, and like it felt this year, especially as we like went into the new year, like a repeat of like every other, or at least of like 2020/2021, because I think that like as every year went on, there was like this sense of like collective like hope and like, oh my God, we're going to be moving forward like another year. And then last year was just essentially a repeat of the year prior. So like, funnily enough, like this today, actually, I messaged one of my coworkers who I hadn't spoken to in a while. I just like had a meeting with him, and afterwards I was like, oh, like Happy New Year. And he was like, and I like had this other message. And then he literally replied, he was like, I'm like so wary of saying happy. So like, I'm not going to say Happy New Year, but like, here's to a hopeful year ahead. I was like,
that's nice.
I was like, that is nice. But also like, I was like, that is like encompassing of how I feel like people feel, of how I feel at least, which is why even more so this year than any other year, I'm like, it's just like another year. Like it doesn't have to be this big momentous thing where you're no longer this bad air quote bad person, and you're changing everything about yourself because you're new and reinvented and blah blah blah. It's like, no, like I'm literally just trying to survive, and I did it. And so here's to another year of being hopeful that I survive another year. And like, that's all we're doing today.
100%. I like, my family and we didn't watch any of the New Year's stuff. Like usually if we are going to watch something, it would be the like New York one. But even that just felt not like, just what's the word? Like it just like kind of left a bad taste in our mouth. Like it,
Yeah,
how could we like we were literally
I know.
positive with COVID in the
Yeah.
house, watch this and be like, oh yeah, like let's pop the champagne, let's like ring in the new
Woo. Yeah.
year. Even if you didn't have COVID, which, you know,
Yeah.
I hope majority of people didn't, but even if you didn't, like
Yeah.
it just wasn't that wasn't the vibe, that wasn't the
No,
mood.
no, of course not. And like, I think that's like not the mood, whatever. And, but I had this like internal struggle with myself because on Instagram, which again, like Instagram is just stupid, but like on Instagram, so many people were like, my year recap. Here's like every
Oh my
best thing that's
god.
ever happened to me happened in 2021. And it's like, I don't want to say it's insensitive because obviously people are allowed to have good years if other people are having bad years. I don't even want to say, or I don't even think I feel like it's an accurate description if I say that 2021 was a bad year.
Yeah.
2020 wasn't a bad year. Did bad things happen? Yes, but bad things happen every year. But good things also happen and have happened over the last year. So I don't even think that I can like look back on 2021 and be like, oh, but it was such a bad year for me because it
Yeah.
truly was not.
Yep.
But I'm still not in the mood to celebrate because collectively as like a community, whether that's like literally the world or like a community of like Ontario or a community of like me, my family and my friends, like that's not the that's not like the tone. Like that's not like
100%.
that's not how it feels like I'm actually entering the year or how the last year was. Like it was very difficult for many different reasons. It was great for many different reasons that you should celebrate, but I don't know. I really struggled with that because everybody, I swear to God, everybody on my Instagram was like, 2021, listen, I loved it. I would redo it
Yeah.
if I could. Here is my highlight reel of my life. I was like, but like, I don't know.
First of all, what is this? It's like a compilation of you getting iced coffees, which like,
I'm
oh, that's great.
freaking
That's so
dead.
fun, but I'm not recapping that as my year in review. Second of all, if I have to listen
Nadine
to this,
did not
I'm just
come
like,
on this episode to play
oh,
games. Nadine did not come. She is taking no
prisoners.
survivors. She is
Listen,
giving no mercy.
if I have to hear that Adele and Bruno Mars remix one more time, I'm cutting off my ears. Like I cannot listen to this remix any more than I already have. In the beginning, I'm like, wow, this like I got goosebumps. I'm like, I love
I
this
got
remix.
goosebumps. I'm freaking dead.
Now, shut it off. I don't want to hear it anymore. I found those very frustrating. I love it for you if you had a
Yeah,
great year. Okay.
I know.
Really, truly. I can't say that I had a bad year, but when we are going through a global collective
Yeah.
crisis, the last thing I want to be doing is putting my foot at the door and stopping it and saying, actually, I'm an exception from that.
Yeah.
All of you had like a really difficult year, but I didn't. And I think it's one thing if you like want to share, this is like it goes back to our love-hate relationship with social media, but I find that it's one thing if you want to share your joy in an authentic way, you know, like a life event or whatever, just like a regular day with your fucking iced coffees. It's another thing for you to say, I'm an exemption from what
Yeah.
is happening
Yeah.
on a global scale.
Yeah. No, I get that. I think too, like it's really difficult because at the same time, like it's not like anyone's trying to invalidate anybody else's year. It comes across as tone deaf when like
Yes.
when it it's not even like a tragedy has happened and you're like, well, we can move on from the tragedy because it's like
Yeah.
everybody is living through said tragedy. And we are all like I say like these people that I'm looking at, you, me, like whatever, are very like blessed, like literally blessed and lucky to like and privileged to have gone through the last year the way that we did.
Yeah.
And I think not recognizing that, which is I think my problem with these like year in reviews for like a new year is like it doesn't recognize that, but then it's like, well, there's still this like global pandemic happening. That's not just like, oh, a global pandemic, everybody's like home. It's like it's a global pandemic where like everybody is I mean, not everybody, but a lot of people are dying. Like
Yeah.
inequities are roaring, like in ways
Yes.
that have like never happened before, or
Yeah.
at least in our lifetimes have not happened before. Like And I think that's where it just becomes really difficult to like put up this year in review, because I don't know, it just kind of feels like, I think also the reason why I personally was like, I don't want to see this year in review is because although this is not anybody's intention in posting this, what did you say? I'm dead.
It's stupid.
I'm dead. Yes. But also, it's not just stupid. It kind of makes you feel like, I don't know what the right word is, like kind of like sad. Like, not that I'm even sad about anything, like not, again, like I said, like not like I had a bad year or anything like that, but you kind of feel worse about feeling worse, if that makes sense. Like, you're already kind of like blah, it's like a new year, you're like, whatever, like kind of feels like the same shit's gonna happen, like nothing, it feels like we haven't made strides, even though we have, but it feels like we haven't in many other ways, blah blah blah. And then you're like, I feel bad in general, and then you're like, you feel worse about how you're feeling, because you're like, oh well, it is a new year, and look, these people are celebrating, like why aren't you celebrating too? And I feel like that's like one of the biggest things with New Year's specifically, with social media, but with New Year specifically, because it's kind of what we were saying at the beginning, where it's like this like pressure cooker of a situation where it's like new year, new everything, like new life, new happiness, new this, new that. And then you're
New
like,
identity.
new identity. You're like, I actually am going to wake up on Jan 1st. It's going to hit midnight, and it's going to be like Cinderella, where you like turn into a new person, but it's not. And it's like, those things didn't go away. And it's like,
Yeah.
It's difficult. I don't know.
I completely agree. I find that if it's hard, because I know a lot of people that, let's say, for example, got married this year or this past year, and that's amazing. Like, that's such an exciting life event that I want you to share that
Absolutely.
So people who did their year in review and it was like these like happy moments, genuine happy moments of their lives, I love that. I love seeing that. I think what I struggle with, and this is with social media in general, is that if it feels like a narrative that you're trying to feed to me, I don't want it.
I feel like it's also so funny when I watch these like year in reviews, because you're totally right. It's hilarious. It's like an oxymoron, because it's like you're pushing this narrative that everything is so genuine and authentic and great. And like, I just like my life, I just woke up like this. And then, but that narrative itself is so scripted. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, you can tell that your genuine narrative is scripted, or your authentic narrative is scripted.
Yeah. Did you hear that?
Yeah. You know what? I'm going to go on my data.
Okay. I'll do the same.
Just because I don't want to risk it. Oh.
I got really fired up about a year in review.
I loved it. I was like, yeah, go off, because it's stupid.
It's so fucking stupid. Like, did people not learn from their decade in review? That was trash.
Yeah, which like doesn't even make sense. I'm like, whatever.
Let me review it.
The math on this, I'm like, the decade is, anyways, whatever.
The math ain't mathing is all I want to say. It's not mathing. No, it's but this idea of like inauthenticity. First of all, this idea of inauthenticity on Instagram is something I've also let go of in 2022. Just this idea of like, can we dump the photo dumps? Like, can we just get rid of them? Because exactly like what you said, this idea of like unscripted, unfiltered, it is a narrative at the end of the day. It's portraying this idea of like, I'm chill, I don't really care about what I post, but it's still a curation of photos.
Yeah, I actually saw something really funny about this, funnily enough, on TikTok, two things. But the first thing I saw was this girl, it was like text. I don't even remember what like the voiceover was, but it was text. And she was like, I post the best selfie of I something like along the lines of like, I post this picture that's like a selfie of the best I've ever looked, and somebody comments, oh my god, thank you so much, like for like being natural, and like like hashtag no filter, like posting like whatever, as if like, you know, like actually authentically posting, which I think is funny, because even when you post a picture, you're never going to post a picture that's like truly, 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 truly authentic and like whatever, right?
Yeah.
Like to some extent, it's always going to be a little bit contrived and like created.
Yep.
But the other thing too, I was on TikTok and I was looking, this girl was like, here are the top 5 trends of Instagram for 2022. And it was like not like about like, I don't know what the trends of Instagram would be. But it was literally like people are going to be posting more unfiltered pictures. And I was like, what is this? Like, this is so stupid. Like, this is why people hate Instagram. This is why people hate like this new year, new me, this new year, new trends of Instagram. Like, how is this a trend? Like, I literally scrolled past so fast. I don't even remember the other 5 because I thought it was so stupid.
Yeah.
But I was like, who is like, okay, new year, new Instagram, let's go. Like, about to
You
post a
would
selfie.
freaking be surprised. People are
I
like,
know.
let me plan my feed.
No.
Remember when we were trying to get our Instagram, like this is in the beginning and we were trying to understand how
Yeah.
managing a brand works. And we were like, you know what? We need to have a theme to
Oh
our
God.
feed.
Yes.
I'm
How could I
so
forget?
happy we let that go. I'm so because it
Yeah.
like adds such a constraint on like your thinking
Yeah.
on how you live your life on social media. Like it's so awful.
It is. And I think like it all just comes back to this like, well, at least in this conversation, this like new year pressure. Because
Yeah.
what is the necessity to like have to curate yourself and like
Yeah.
your lived experience? Because that's essentially what you do. And I just don't understand. Like, I think that's the biggest thing that I am taking into this year is like, you don't have to curate every part of your life, whether that's on social media or not. Like, if you're okay with it, then you're okay with it in all facets, in all aspects of your life. Like,
Yeah.
you are okay with doing something, then you're okay with doing it online. You're okay with doing it with your friends. You're okay. Like, and it comes down to like a lot of small things where like, I don't know. I don't really know how to describe what I'm saying, but I find like if we were talking about things we're like gonna do in the new year, the one thing I am gonna do is like, or try to do is like stop. If I'm okay with something, then I don't want to have to feel like I'm not okay with it because other people for some reason aren't okay with it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Like
I feel like people just need to do that on Instagram too. Like if you like you don't need to like curate this picture or this feed or this
no.
dump or whatever you want to do. Like just live your life.
Yeah. Just live. Yes. Like live more authentically. Like live and like live in the moment, you know, like one
Yeah.
day you could be feeling a certain again with my general phrases that I'm so popular for, but one day you could be living a certain way and then the next day you could feel differently, you know, like
Yeah.
for example, I like to I don't like New Year's Eve, but I do like New Year's Day. The
Okay.
reason I don't like New Year's Eve is because I find that it comes with such a buildup of the entire year that's all dropped on a single minute.
Yeah.
Whereas New Year's Day, you have the whole day and it does feel like, I don't know, like you feel refreshed in a way.
Mhm.
Um, so usually I like to clean my space New Year's Day.
Mhm.
I did none of that. And it's because I didn't
Yeah.
feel like it. And it's
Yeah.
fine. I
Yeah.
cleaned it the next day and I survived. Like
And
it's
we made it.
we
Oh my
we
God.
did it.
I know. I actually, this is a different topic that we want to have an episode about, but I literally feel that because every like whether it's like my birthday or whether it's New Year's or whatever, like I'm always like, oh my God, now I have to like prepare myself
Yeah.
mentally to be like, now we're gonna go and it's the new year, which means you have to do XYZ. You have to clean, you have to sage, you have to do your laundry, you have to write intentions, you have to do your tarot card reading for the year, you have to
Yeah.
like, okay, literally nobody cares. The year does not give a
No.
shit. The year came and it went and it will come again. I mean, hopefully, touch wood, but it has come. And that's what I literally told myself this year. I was like, I don't feel good. So I'm just not going to do those things. I didn't even end up doing it till like the third or even the fourth, like finish
Yeah.
like cleaning and doing stuff. I still haven't done a lot of those things. And I'm like, you know what? It doesn't even matter. And I was like reading something interesting. I think I was reading a book and it just so happened to like say something about New Year's, but it was like technically in as you enter New Year, you're the new year in terms of a season, you're entering like the depths of winter. You're getting even further into what you've already been doing for the last few months.
Yeah.
So, and your body is like getting even further into what you've already been doing. Like it's not the time for like new anything, because if you were to like follow like whatever, like it would technically be spring where you like come back and you like revitalize and you regrow and you do da da. So I was like, yeah, so great. December, January, February, March, I'm going to be doing what I've always been doing because nothing bad happens. And that's the other thing. Like
Yep.
you live with all these rules for New Year's, but it's like the day doesn't care. Like if you have like silly rules about like on a New Year, I have to clean for good luck. Like if you don't clean, the New Year will still come. Like it'll still be the new year. If you don't sage,
Yeah.
like it's not as though like time is gonna stop and it's gonna be like you didn't sage your room, you didn't cleanse your energy. Like no,
Exactly.
it's still gonna be the new year. It's still gonna time is still gonna pass.
Yes. Yeah, I found that in the past I used to overwhelm myself with things that I would
Yes.
do, like rituals, even though I know we'll talk about that more on another episode, but I would literally overwhelm myself. I'd wake up early. I would like do
No.
God knows what. And then one like for example, like one of the things I would do, even though this was only last year, but I would set up my bullet journal,
Yes.
which is so much fun, but I would just do things that in the grand scheme of things, like in the purpose of why I needed this journal, were unnecessary in the end.
Yeah.
Like, for example, I did like a full year tarot reading for myself, which so fun. But
So
then not
fun.
only did I do that, but I took it another, like I literally cranked up the dial so hard that the dial
As we do.
fell.
It broke off. It
It
literally
broke off.
malfunctioned.
I illustrated it in my bullet journal so I could see with my eyes what my cards were, and I made notes. Do you think that at any point in the last year I was like, let me flip back to my bullet journal and see April? Oh, yikes. Like that was my card? I didn't. I absolutely didn't do that.
I'm dead.
So we're
I
letting
know.
it go.
You're letting it go. I think if anything we want to take away in the new year,
Yes.
in the new, it's let it go. Just let it freaking go, because time goes on, the day moves on, the year goes on,
You move
you
on.
move on, and as you should, because as you should, like nothing is going to be the end of the world except for the end of the world, and so you should just do whatever because it doesn't matter.
Life, yes.
It's all life.
It's all life.
All
One.
life.
Two, life is not stagnant. And
And it doesn't
that
wait for you. It's
it
not going to wait
doesn't
for you to finish saging before it turns 12 o'clock on Jan 1st.
that and also like it doesn't start and stop on a day. Like life doesn't stop on December 31st and then start back up again on January 1st. And so neither should your mentality or frame of
Yeah, absolutely. And also, I feel like a big thing is like, if I just don't feel it, then I don't feel it until I feel it again.
yeah.
The end. That's it. The end. I don't feel it until I feel it again.